Hey y'all, welcome back to Refining Beauty with me, Yanni Michelle, a channel where faith meets beauty so that you can glow and grow from the inside out. So on today's episode, I'm just going to be sharing our weekly glow up, which comes from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 15. And really, just the backdrop of this scripture is just about being truthful. And so the scripture reads, it says, "But speaking the truth in love, in all things, both our speech and our lives express his truth, let us grow up." But there's three simple points that I just want to hone in on. The first point is you can't be truthful to others if you're not first truthful with yourself. And I think that's so important because we try so hard to be honest and tell people the truth and tell it like it is. But how many times have we not been truthful with ourselves? How many times have we not been honest with ourselves? I know as women, oftentimes we know that we're tired. We know that we're going through emotional instability, sometimes even mental instability, but we suppress our feelings. We suppress how we feel. And it's kind of like, I'll deal with it later. I'll get to it later. I got things to do. Christmas is coming up. The kids have to be taken care of. And so we suppress our feelings, but that's the Bible clearly tells us that we need to be truthful, and it's not really focusing on others. It also means focusing on ourselves, and that is really something that I'm dealing with personally. Is just taking a pause throughout the day and asking myself, like, how do I feel today, truthfully and honestly? And then when people are asking, how am I? How are you doing, Yanni? I can truthfully and honestly say, I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm going through some emotional issues. I'm dealing with some family issues, and just being honest, because you never know. Sometimes being honest and truthful first with ourselves and with others is an opportunity for somebody to come and pray with us, somebody to intercede for us. And so don't see being truthful as a bad thing, being honest with other people as a bad thing. You never know what opportunities, what doors may open, how God could work through other people just from us, from me and you, walking in our truth. So keep that in mind. And if you are going through something, let's be solution oriented. How can I deal with this? Pray about it. Ask God, like, hey God, I'm feeling this way. I'm going through depression right now. I need you in this situation. I need guidance. Direct me who to go to. If you feel like you need therapy, God, give me direction on who I need to speak with, the best therapist to deal with my situation. And that's what I had to do personally. I was getting that nudge that I needed to go to therapy, but I had no idea where to go, where to start. But I started moving. And as I started moving and researching and praying in the process, God directed me to the perfect therapist for me. And that is my area where I can be truthful and honest with myself and be honest with someone else who can offer their words of wisdom and their prayers to get me through my situations. Which brings me to point number 2. And it says, when we speak truth, take a moment and ask yourself, is it done in love? And I think that just goes back to the point where we just speak our mind a lot, right? We're just like, I got to get it off my chest. I need to tell the truth. She just needs to know. He just needs to know. And so oftentimes we become we become impulsive. We become impulsive with our words, become impulsive, even with our attitudes and our feelings. But we have to take a moment, and this is part of maturity that scripture talks about, right? We have to take a moment and be truthful and say, is this done in love? How is my heart on this matter? Is my heart in a place where there's jealousy? Is my heart in a place where there's strife? Is my heart in a place where I'm trying to be malicious and cause strife, or I'm trying to get back at someone? If it's not done, if you're telling your truth to someone and even yourself is not done in love, then you might need to take a moment and just be quiet, be still, settle your soul, settle your thoughts, settle your mind, pray, ask God for direction. And if he leads you to talk to someone, or someone who has some wisdom to give you guidance on the situation, wait. You don't have to be so impulsive to speak your mind, to go off on somebody. Take a step back, assess your thoughts. And speaking of which, there's a quote that I heard someone say, and I believe it was from a book from Maya Angelou, and it says, a wise person thinks twice and speaks once. That means they listen to what somebody's saying, they process it, they're thinking about it again before they just speak. Because it's going to come off wrong. If it's not done in love, it's going to come back off wrong, right? If it's not done in love, it's not going to be received. If it's not done in love, it's going to cause more strife. It's going to cause a rift in the relationship. And so I just want to encourage you, as you're speaking your truth, or before you speak your truth, take a moment, take a step back, think it through, assess if it's done in love. If not, then you may need to wait. Wait until the right time. I'm reminded of a scripture that says a kind word turns away wrath, and kindness is rooted in love. And so if you approach that person in kindness, if you're addressing the situation in kindness, then it won't cause any rift. It won't cause any drama. It won't, the person, I feel like the person would even sense whether or not it's coming from a place of love, or if it's coming from a place of malice or a place of jealousy. And so the third and final point is really just honing in on that final piece that says, let us grow up. And growing up really is just maturity, right? So not only is it spiritual maturity, but also maturity in the natural as well. And so I put that truth should be our nature as mature believers. It's a lifestyle that requires lifelong surrender and allowing God to mold us into his image of Christ. And I'm just reminded that once again, our maturity is a process, right? It's not something that I personally don't think that we'll ever arrive. We're always progressing, we're always making progress, but we'll never reach that stage of perfection until we see God face to face. So it's a process, but I think the important thing is making sure that we're progressing in our maturity, that we're not going back to how we used to be, that our thoughts are not going back to old ways. And so, as we're growing up, as we're maturing in our faith, as we are maturing as individuals, as wives, as sisters, as friends, as ultimately believers, make sure that you're continuing to surrender to God, because part of that maturity is just allowing God to take control. Part of that maturity is trusting that God knows best. And, that's something that I'm learning myself, is really just having that childlike faith, that childlike trust that God has his best interest, has my best interest at heart. And so just know that's part of the maturing process. And it's the expectation. It's the expectation by God for us to grow up. And, oftentimes our growing up may include disruptions in our life. It may include, like for me, a cancer diagnosis. It may include the loss of a loved one, where it's not a something bad that God has placed in our lives, but it's something where an unfortunate event happens, and it's an invitation for God to love on us. It's an invitation from God for us to grow up. And really, as I've shared, it's an invitation from God for us to just trust him more and more. And that's part of the maturity process. So I hope this mini glow up blessed you. And again, our scripture comes from Ephesians chapter 4, verses 15, that says, but speaking the truth in love, in all things, both our speech and our lives, express his truth and let us grow up. And so with that being said, I will see you guys soon. Peace.